Welcome back to Molding the World, the only show that dares to ask, if a nation falls in the middle of the ocean and there's no working ship to hear it, does it make a sound? Or does it just result in a very awkward press release from the Ministry of Defense? We begin with the crowning achievement of global Britain, the ultimate evolution of the bureaucratic species. According to the latest figures for April 2026, the Royal Navy currently boasts an impressive 134 admirals and flag officers. Now, to the uninitiated, that sounds like a lot of leadership. To anyone with a calculator, it's a punchline. You see, we currently have roughly 19 working warships available for sea. Do the math, and you'll realize we have reached the golden ratio, 7 admirals for every single ship. It is a visionary strategy, really. We've realized that steel is expensive, prone to rust, and requires pesky things like fuel. Admirals, on the other hand, merely require a steady supply of gin, a very large pension, and a hat so wide it has its own postcode. If we ever actually go to war, we won't need to fire a single shot. We'll simply have the admirals stand on the deck of our one remaining dinghy and use their collective gold braid to reflect the sun's rays, dazzling the enemy into a state of permanent blindness. Either that, or they'll just argue about who gets the most mahogany in their cabin until the ship physically sinks under the sheer weight of their medals. It's not a fleet, it's a floating retirement home with a very high readiness status. And speaking of sinking, or at least staying very, very still, let's check in on the pride of the fleet, HMS Dragon. After a 3-week voyage to Cyprus that was so leisurely the crew had time to learn Mandarin, take up artisanal sourdough baking, and possibly complete a PhD in marine biology, the Dragon has finally arrived. And then, in a stroke of absolute comedic genius that would make Buster Keaton weep with envy, it immediately broke down. Was it an Iranian boarding party? A secret Russian acoustic torpedo? No. It was a water desalination system. Yes, the billion-pound Type 45 destroyer, designed to track 1,000 targets simultaneously and vaporize incoming supersonic threats, has been defeated by the complex, alien technology of making a cup of tea. The pipes have given up the ghost. The Dragon is supposed to breathe fire, but currently, it can't even provide a lukewarm shower. It's sitting at a pier in Cyprus like a very expensive, very thirsty floating garden ornament. One can only assume the crew is currently using bottles of Evian to brush their teeth and damp wet wipes to maintain their military bearing. It's the ultimate New World Order vessel, the ship that owns nothing, not even its own plumbing, and is supposedly happy about it. Not to be outdone in the theatre of the absurd, our Defense Secretary, John Healey, took to the podium this week to announce that we've been playing a month-long game of I Spy with the Kremlin. Healey declassified a covert operation just so he could look into the cameras and tell Vladimir Putin, "We see you." It was a magnificent performance. It didn't feel like a high-level military briefing. It felt like a man shouting over a garden fence at a neighbor he thinks is nicking his Amazon parcels. He revealed that we've been tailing Russian spy subs near our undersea cables. Now, the Russians, being slightly more practiced at this game, sent a big, loud Akula submarine to play catch me if you can, acting as a giant, nuclear-powered decoy. While we were busy chasing that, their tiny Guji spy subs were down there probably trying to find the off switch for Britain's high-speed broadband. Healey says there will be serious consequences if the cables are touched. I can only assume this involves him standing on the white cliffs of Dover and making "I'm watching you" gestures with his fingers until his arms get tired. Because let's be honest, if the Russians do decide to snip the wires, what are we going to do? Send an admiral? We've got plenty of those. But unless they can hold their breath for 6 hours and carry a wrench to the bottom of the Atlantic, they're about as useful as a solar-powered torch in a coal mine. The opposition has described our current defense strategy as all mouth and no trousers. And for once, the metaphor is literal. We have the mouth, John Healey giving terrifying speeches about undersea integrity, but we clearly have no trousers. We have no ships to tail the Russians, no working pipes for the Dragon, and no actual plan beyond hoping the Germans will let us borrow their frigate for another week so we can pretend we still have a navy. In the Great Reset of 2026, the Royal Navy has reached its final form. We own no ships, our admirals are happy, and we're currently praying that the rest of the world doesn't realize our entire maritime defense is being held together by a single roll of duct tape, a borrowed Brita filter, and the sheer, unadulterated hope that nobody asks us to actually go anywhere. We are truly molding a new world. It's just a shame it's made of flammable plasticine and has a very, very weak plumbing system. Enjoy the song and we will see you next time on Molding the World.
Oh, Vladimir Putin, we see you, but there's not much that we can do. For our navy's small and a little bit poo, but don't worry, we still have a view. 134 Admirals bold, with medals of silver and tassels of gold. 134 Admirals grand, with only 20 ships that could lead the land. We've got more stars than we've got hulls, commanding the dockyards and scaring the gulls. Oh, Vladimir Putin, we see you, but there's not much that we can do. For our navy's small and a little bit blue, but don't worry, we still have a view. The Dragon sailed out for the Cyprus sun to stop all the drones with her big fancy gun. She made it to a rotary looking quite tough until her plumbing decided it's had enough. She's stuck at the pier with a leak in the pipe while the minister gives us a bag of tripe. Oh, Vladimir Putin, we see you, but there's not much that we can do. For our navy's small and a little bit poo, but don't worry, we still have a view. We see you, says Healey, we're ready to fight, as long as the Germans will help us tonight. We borrowed the Saxon to fill in the gap, cause our own NATO fleet is taking a nap. We're watching your subs through a crack in the door, while our final frigate is pulled to the shore. We see ya! But the Dragon cannot make a brew while the Admirals are in the pension queue. Oh, Vladimir Putin, we see you, but there's not much that we can do. For our navy's small and a little bit